between us. Does anybody know if these fences make good neighbors? Berlin to Jericho. So build it up high and build it up strong. Everybody choose a side, switch off and sing along. The wall has come between us. Is there ever any doubt that we should fear the enemy within more than the enemy without? So build it up high and build it up strong. Everybody choose a side, switch off and sing along. The wall has come between us. Divided we must fall, and somewhere in the ashes we'll forget why we ever thought to build this wall. All the stories are true. I don't believe that anyone is all bad. Well, from the day we are born, we get kept misinformed about Santa Claus, the tooth fairy in Baghdad. And I don't believe there's some place where you go when you're dead with your wings and your halo. And I don't believe there's some big pot of gold waiting there at the end of the rainbow. I don't believe all the words that they say every day there on my television. And I believe lots of the ones calling the shots have no respect for the rights that were given. But I still believe you call it fair, you call it free, but if you want to, you can rig an election. But I don't believe there were WMDs, and this could well have been proven by an inspection. But I don't believe we were ever so naive as to think the Shiites would get along with the Sunni. And I believe lots of the ones calling the shots have no respect for the rights that we're given. The diverted taxes pay the private contractors, gave the soldiers insufficient protection. The people won't know because the networks are owned by the same fuckers who bought the election. Alright. See much sense in choosing a new shade of paint when the timbers are rotten. And I don't believe we can ever find peace if the lessons of time get forgotten. But what do I care, cause I'm healthy and there are much worse places than this I could live in. You see, I think of the shame that's been cast in my name. Well, some sins they should not be forgiven. 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 Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. You're very kind. Welcome to episode 2 of the lockdown sessions with me, your host. Now, I was told that apparently, because I obviously I don't watch the shows back, I don't have that level of vanity, but I'm told that my talking between songs is way quieter than the singing, so I'm just going to be yelling at you in the face tonight, which seems appropriate for the theme. So tonight I'm going to be playing a bunch of the songs that I've written that are about, I suppose, my observations on the world, planet Earth, as it is right now. I have been accused of being a political songwriter, and I don't think that's necessarily the case. I write songs about things that seem like they're worth writing about, things that feel important, and every now and then something pisses me off enough to make me want to write about, current affairs and what have you. So that song was called Song for the Republican Convention. It was fairly, it's all out there. There's not a great deal of subtlety involved. Essentially, it was a song. I mean, it's called "Song for the Republican Convention," but it was more like an attack on dear old Tony Blair, really, because much as we may right now be feeling like, well, we'd love to have a tyrant more like him running the things, but I was really pissed off with that whole war in Iraq situation. Not because I'm like a big fan of Saddam Hussein or anything, but just if you're going to do something in a civilized and democratic country, then you just need to be honest about it. And if you want to go and have a war with somebody based on the fact that you don't like them very much, or their human rights record, then you have to make that case and you have to go for it. You don't just sort of invent shit and then just team up with your buddies and sex up dossiers just so that you can go and do this thing that then ultimately will shift money from some people to some other people. There was a lot going on in that, and but the interesting thing is I don't ever play that song anymore. At the time, it felt really relevant, and I guess it feels less relevant now because we have other things on our minds other than remembering the war in Iraq, which is over for us. It's not over for them. They're still living that hell. But that kind of is one of my grumbles with modern politics is I think people have worked out that actually you don't have to really have any concern for the future or the mess that you left behind, because your time in office or your time in government is so relatively short. By the time the consequences land and the chickens come home to roost, you'll be out the door in some cushy number in corporate land. So that's kind of what this song is about, amongst other things. So I find that the songs that I end up not playing anymore are the ones that are sort of specific to a particular time in history, and the ones that kind of stay in the set for me are the ones that are a bit more, I suppose, vague, you could say, or you could say it's sort of a multi-purpose list of grievances against the world. And since that doesn't seem to change anytime soon, the songs unfortunately seem to stick around and remain relevant for me for a while. So here's another one of those. Well, the world's getting heavy and it sticks to my feet. Well practiced in losing and brave in defeat. With no friends in this business, you keep your enemies sweet. You keep one in the chamber for every stranger you meet. Well, I'll take pieces of silver for a head full of rhyme. I'll take a headache and a casket for a life full of time. I'll take a patch of New Mexico and I'll call it mine. And I'll swear never to return to the scene of the crime. Well, the mob's getting angry and the torches are light, 'cause they're putting up taxes by a penny tonight. And you can never get freedom, boys, if you run from a fight. So when the heavens are falling, take a step to the right. So we smoke ourselves skinny and we drink ourselves blind. Self-discovery knocks, but there is nothing to find. And if you're looking for victims, would you keep me in mind? Let us be kissed on the cheek, let us be fucked from behind. There's no need to tread carefully, there's no need to fear. Just talking obscure non-specifics and try to look all sincere. Every administration blames the one from last year. So when consequence calls, there'll be nobody here. So we set out our kids for a tank full of gas and a lifetime in plastics for a fistful of cash. Let the rivers run dry, let the economy crash. Let the discotheques resound to the requiem mass. Kids for a tank full of gas and a lifetime in plastics for a fistful of cash. Let the rivers run dry, let the economy crash, and the discotheques resound to the requiem. I know it's silly having the applause button, but it just feels less silly somehow for me to just have a little audio full stop at the end of the sentence of music. So if it's cool with you, then I'm just going to give myself a little pause, and it's only a light smattering. I didn't want to go crazy with lots of whooping and stuff. It's yeah. Anyway, so that's one of, I guess, a type of song that I do a lot, which is songs that are essentially just a list of grievances. And the way that I write them is usually I just scribble lots and lots of lines or couplets or whatever, and then I sort of have to work out what it is that I'm saying and what I mean. But usually what happens is it used to be when I had a TV. I don't have a TV anymore. If I'd watch TV news, particularly if I was on tour in America, like their news is incredible. I would watch the news for any period of time, and it would just put me into such a rage that the words would just kind of be flowing out of me. I was just scribbling on bits of paper and stuff, and then I would keep the bits of paper, and then eventually I'd sort of try and arrange them into something that kind of made sense, and I suppose kind of laid my grievances bare in a way that that felt right. And it doesn't always have a purpose. And I suppose this is one of the things I've been thinking about when putting this show together, is like, what is the point, I've been asking myself, of writing songs about politics particularly? I mean, is it to try and change the world? Is it just to kind of to lodge your complaint while the ship is sinking? Or is it just to sort of share your grievances? And I still haven't really worked out what the answer is. I think when I was younger, I thought it was to try and change the world. And I guess with age and a little bitterness that maybe I don't feel like that anymore. And now maybe it is just sort of, if we're going down, I'm going down swearing. Yes, I think every song I'm playing tonight has the F-bomb in it at least once. So that was an example of one of the songs I do, which is kind of vague, and it's sort of a general. I mean, there was a little bit of environmentalism in there. There was a few complaints about the electoral system and what have you. But sometimes songs can be a little bit more specific. And there are ways of writing songs on the subject of politics and world affairs. You can take a really sort of self-righteous and very serious approach, but sometimes it's kind of it's just as impactful to sort of be a sarcastic little shit about it, which I do sometimes with songs like "She's Not the One," which was just like a good fun romp about Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, why not? And I also have what I'm going to do now, which is kind of a surf pop song about violations of the Geneva Convention on Human Rights. So there you go. Right, let's do it, shall we? black fog. Any man of any honor, he'll be dying like a dog. Isn't it when it's blowing up perfect, man, you know what I say. Pick up your water bottle, meet me down at Camp X-Ray. Everybody's gone surfing Guantanamo Bay. I try to wash it all away in a swell. Every line to my soul, a little closer to hell. Try to push a little conscience to the back of my head. Out in the water until the whole damn ocean turns to red. Pushing 90, but my blood runs cold. And my faith is a slow, complicit torture for my soul. Can I feel my fingers and it feels okay? Packing up all of my troubles, washing clean in the spray. Everybody's gone surfing Guantanamo Bay. I try to wash it all away in a sweat. Every wave to my Yeah, so that was a song that I suppose the idea behind it is to get its idea across by sort of sneaking it under the under the border wall, so to speak. You put your serious idea, but you put it in a frivolous context. You have a song that's kind of fun and light on the outside, but has its dark core in the middle. Anyway, I have all your comments here in front of me on this whole message thing, right? So if anybody has any questions, then I'm very much willing to answer them. Obviously, bearing in mind that there is a lag on here. But I did notice that somebody, Roger says, "Wow, how do you get the bass effect?" Well, sorry, just a little tech moment here. This is like well, I say it's my invention. I'm sure someone else did that as well. This is a good bass. So if you see here, it's got the two pickups here. This one here is just here. That's the I fitted a Fender Mustang bass pickup to here, which has a separate output which goes to a pitch shifter, which means the bottom two strings play like a fucking really low bass sound while you're playing big chords, and you can sort of bring it in and out as you see fit. So that's the secret of my success. What's the fancy guitar? It's beautiful. It's a Gretsch. Can't remember what number it is, but it's very pretty, but it's not terribly expensive. It's from their sort of like middle range. It's not one of their super fancy ones. Every now and then I acquire guitars for the purpose of kind of being a little mean to them, like drilling holes for them to fit extra pickups and what have you. But please, let's not have loads of questions about guitars, because I'm not really a gear kind of guy. What's your gear setup right now for the nerds? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do a whole nother bit on that. I was actually thinking of another show in the future to be like a loop machine masterclass, when I shall tell you how everything works and how it goes. So we'll save that for another occasion. There's a question here regarding the song Stephen. Were you ever concerned about negative feedback for Stephen? Leslie, thank you for your question. I was very concerned, particularly because Stephen is a song that's it's not about politics at all. It really isn't. It's a song about bereavement. It's a song about a family that's been torn to pieces as a result of something that at some point back in the future was political and had since become, I don't know. I mean, of course, you always have to be careful what you say about events in Northern Ireland. For those of you who don't know, Stephen Carroll was a policeman who was murdered in Northern Ireland many years ago now. And growing up in the 80s, news of people being killed in Northern Ireland was unfortunately not at all shocking. But then this peace came about, and I suppose we should thank Mr. Blair for his part in that. Credit where it's due. And so it really was shocking after years and years of peace that someone's life was taken in such a way. And the thing that really made it impactful for me was hearing Stephen Carroll's widow talking about what had happened on the radio. And this was like probably within 24 hours of his murder. And she was calm and graceful and wasn't at all hateful or vengeful, or it wasn't something that I suppose brought her into the conflict in some way of choosing sides and wanting retribution. It was purely like this must be the end. This has to be a moment where peace can come out, and if his life will stand for anything, it has to stand for peace. And I found it to be so beautiful and moving that I couldn't get her words out of my head for the next few weeks, and I ended up writing a song mostly out of her words. So I'll play it now, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about it afterwards. Okay. Stephen, the flags are half-mast at the station. There's a cloud hanging over this town. The wind blows apology and the sun looks ashamed as he hides out behind Portadown. And out there are children still raised on old anger to believe there's a reason to fight. But a piece of land's only a piece of land. You will not come home tonight. Stephen, the uniformed visitors came unexpectedly late yesterday. I opened the door to a man and a woman. Oh, I knew what they'd come here to say. Well, I've never seen any darkness so deep as the moment when I clicked off the light. And a piece of land's only a piece of land. You will not come home tonight. Stephen, the paper's been filled with your picture. You know, it seems the whole world knows your name. And would you believe there was Martin McGuinness out condemning these bastards to blame? Well, I've never seen so much orange and green come together on a thin strip of white. And a piece of land's only a piece of land. You will not come home tonight. No, a piece of land's only a piece of land. And you will not come home tonight. All right, so to go back to the question, yes, I did get a little bit of shit, not as much as I could have. I think that's one of the advantages of being someone who doesn't sell a great number of records and isn't particularly well known. So I suppose the thing that I feared most was that the family of Stephen Carroll would feel like it was an intrusion, or would feel like there was it was. Yeah, you know, a vulgar, I don't know, trying to cash in on their collective grief, and I always thought that if there was ever an objection from them, that it would just be gone. I'd never play it, I'd never release it. It would be gone forever, because it's not my place to be talking about people's private business, especially when it's something so sensitive as this. In reality, the complete opposite happened, and the family of Stephen Carroll got in touch with me to thank me for writing it and for thinking of them and sharing their story, and so that meant the world to me. It's one of my I know pride is a sin, I know, but it's one of my proudest accomplishments as a songwriter that I was able to not fuck that up. Not do anything that was overstepping a mark or was being discourteous to the family of Mr. Carroll. Other people were a little bit more pissed, and only really a couple of times. There was one person who made the comment: a piece of land, yes, is a piece of land, but it's our piece of land, and you fucking stole it. Not me personally, but you know, the British. I have no defense for that. I don't argue that case. I'm personally not belittling the status of the piece of land in question. These are just the words that Kate said on the evening in question that I found so very powerful. And I think the other objection I got was from the other side of things, which is in many ways is another vindication, because if people on both sides are pissed off with you, then clearly you've walked a centre line quite adequately. At a show in Leicester, I got some quite aggressive heckling from somebody who had served in the British military in Northern Ireland, who was kind of upset that I don't know that I wasn't just saying no surrender to the IRA or whatever. But for me, it was never a political song. It's not about who's right or wrong in that whole situation. It's just about no family should have to have someone taken from them in such a fashion, especially not a family with such capacity for grace and forgiveness and such incredible qualities. It just struck me as the most terrible tragedy imaginable, and so that's why I wrote the songs. To be honest, I don't have an opinion when it comes to Northern Ireland. I don't think I'm entitled to one. It's nothing to do with me. I hope that there is a solid and lasting eternal peace, and that everyone can get along there. That is it for me. I don't think anyone should be killing each other, and thankfully that is a lot less prevalent than it was back in the day. Anyway, let's move on. Any more questions here? Oh, here we go. Was State of the Union written about a specific period of British politics? I've always been struck with how timeless it is, perhaps a testament to the songwriting or the sorry state of our politics. Well, actually, to be honest, the reason it's timeless is because it's actually quite vague. It's one of those songs that essentially deals with the eternal grumbles that I have and that we probably all have about the political landscape, and these things aren't gonna change anytime soon. In many ways, I would like to say that it's an incredibly insightful piece of songwriting, but I think the truth is that really, if you throw a few of the right sort of phrases in there and you swear a lot, then people will kind of adapt your song to fit their point in many ways, which I don't know. It probably would have bothered me a great deal back in the day, but I'm a bit more open-minded, I suppose, about these days about what songs are for. And it always used to bother me when the idea of somebody putting their own meaning onto a song. For me, that would suggest that I haven't done my job well enough as far as hammering home what the actual meaning is that I, as the writer, want you to get from it. But actually, I'm a bit more open to the idea now that people will take from a song what they need from it, particularly if it has a message. If the message is woolly enough, I suppose, and it's just sort of anger at the status quo, then I suppose you can bolt onto that whatever your personal politics are. I always try wherever possible not to sort of take sides in party politics, because, to be perfectly honest, I don't have an allegiance in that respect. I think everyone is equally wrong, but not in that whole sense that get rid of the lot of them. I think they're both all sides are equally right as well, with a few exceptions. I'll explain more about that a bit later. Let's do another song, shall we? This is a song that sort of started me down a very long road. I'm going to play this song for you because it's not very good, and then I'm going to tell you why it isn't as good as it should be. This is the song of mine that has the F word in it more than any other song I've ever done. Is that in tune? Yes, close enough. Okay, here we go. Well, bless my soul and break my heart. It seems the 21st century is falling apart. The river's getting wider and there's nowhere to cross. Somebody took a gamble and everyone lost. So while London's burning, Manchester's in flames, everybody's looking out for someone to blame. Society's broken, you can smell the fear. Everybody wants answers, well I got one here. It's the economy, stupid. The dollar is the pound. It's never gonna change until they burn it all down. So 10 for the money, it's 20 for the show. We're all slaves on a ship, so we better fucking roll. There's a couple of things I haven't figured out just yet. Now why the hell would anybody wanna buy debt? And why are we terrified the crooks who make the whole world poor gonna take their ugly business and fuck off to Singapore? Send the banks down the crapper country to the wall, get a tasty little bonus. To hell with them all, cause when you're richer than God you can do as you will. There's always some other sucker gonna pick up the bill. It's the economy, stupid. The dollar is the pound. It's never gonna change until they burn it all down. So it's 10 for the money, 20 for the show. We're all slaves on a ship, so we better fucking roll. Well, there's an eeny, meeny, miny, mo election call. You pick a boy who went to Eton or a girl St. Paul. They'll be powerless to change the world, whoever you choose. May as well flip a coin between the reds and the blues. Inflation's up high and interest low. That's why it's 10 for the money, it's 20 for the show. They say whole way of life is under serious threat. Everybody get borrowing and sell some more debt. It's the economy, stupid. The dollar is the pound. It's never gonna change till they burn it all down. So it's 10 for the money, it's 20 for the show. We're all slaves on a ship, so we better fucking roll. Woo! On the British city streets, some blame the government and some the police. Or is it lazy fucking chaps who want a free TV or a short-term measure of austerity? Well, there's no individual to blame for it all. There's just a huge divide, and so divided we fall. You can try and choose a leader, but the dollar is king. Got an ugly fucking scramble everybody wants in. It's the economy, stupid. The dollar is the pound. It's never gonna change until they burn it all down. So it's 10 for the money, it's 20 for the show. We're all slaves on a ship, so we better fucking roll. Make a grown man weep, make a brave man cower. Make a cow suck lemons till the milk turns sour. Toss one rotten apple from a barrel gone bad, and drink the worst damn cider that you ever had. Guess it's simple, or maybe it's not. Don't spend more money than all the money you got, or build a bright new future on the same old trash. Get exactly where we were before it all went crash. It's the economy, stupid. The dollar is the pound. It's never gonna change till we burn it all down. So it's 10 for the money, it's 20 for the show. We're all slaves on a ship, so we better fucking roll. It's the economy, stupid. The dollar is the pound. Never gonna change till they burn that fucker down. So it's 10 for the money, 20 for the show. We're all slaves on a ship, so we better fucking roll. Woo! Thank you. All right, so it's the economy, stupid. That kind of was a note to self. I was kind of thinking about that whole politics thing and why I was so pissed off with things and why the world is the way that it is and why injustices happen a lot. And it's not a great revelation as revelations go. But it just occurred to me one day, and I'm sure it's occurred to everybody many times over. It's just the fucking economy. It's all the economy. No one really in high places. I don't think people have a great deal of ideology. I think it essentially comes down to who's getting paid and where the money goes, and you just follow the money, and that essentially is what's calling the shots. And the people who are in charge of where the money goes are the puppet masters making everyone else dance and sort of inventing things, ideology, religion, to make people essentially do as they're told. But ultimately, the thing that really is driving everything is the power, which ultimately is the money. And that I don't think that's particularly enlightened or was much of a revelation, but it really struck me. And so I wrote the song, It's the Economy, Stupid, which was essentially my answer to the question I was asking, which is like, why is the world so fucked up as this? And the answer is, it's the economy, stupid. Which was a slogan from, I think, Bill Clinton's re-election campaign. But it's a good slogan, as slogans go. So I borrowed it for that song. But really, the song itself doesn't... it sort of asks questions and then doesn't answer them. Or rather, it asks questions and then the answer is just, it's the economy. But I didn't know what the economy even was, or what that word even really means. And so I wrote the song and felt smug about it for about a minute before I realized I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Like I'm not in a position to be talking about economics because I don't know anything about it. And so I spent a couple of years like trying to learn more about it and reading a lot of books from both sides of the economic spectrum, because the economic spectrum kind of mirrors the political spectrum. You have a left and a right, which is interesting to me, because I kind of think when we think about politics, we tend to think of it, there's just a line, and there's a left side and a right side, and you're somewhere on this line. But in actual fact, it's like a three-dimensional sphere. And if you follow it round far enough, like, because in theory, like Hitler and Stalin are on opposite sides, but they're sort of round the back, meeting up, having a cheeky reach around. Is the way I see it. And your feelings on economics might be left or right, but your feelings on social matters may be north or south. And it's hard to reconcile all these myriad different opinions you might have on the world. And yet we've somehow managed to put it on a line so that we just presume that if you're in favor of low taxation, you're also against abortion. There's no reason those two things should ever be correlated, and yet they sort of seem to be in the world. So I digress. I do that a lot. And so I wanted to educate myself on the subject of economics, but in the end, what I found after essentially doing nothing else but read books on economics for maybe 2 years, in the hopes of learning about it, was the more I found, I just found more questions and more uncertainty. And I suppose the conclusions that I came to is that actually the whole damn thing's it's alchemy. It's nonsense. For the most part, like, but people are trying to convince other people that they have the answers, but really what they're doing is it's like a damn medicine show. They're trying to sell snake oil on both sides of the equation. And ultimately, what I've come to think is that everyone's wrong, and I don't mean that everyone's completely wrong. I mean everyone's wrong when they say that their idea is always the best idea. I think sometimes this idea is best, at other times that idea is best, because we live in a very sort of ever-changing, fluid situation. And so the problem that I have with economics is this idea of fundamentalism, that if you're economically left or right, if you're a Keynesian or I suppose a Milton Friedmanite or whatever you want to call it, wherever you stand on this imaginary line, you're wrong if you think that that's always the way that you need to act. Sometimes the other guy's right. And I think a little humility is a good thing. It's like it's supposed to be a science. It's not a religion. You can't just sort of claim that it's divinely mandated that markets are always self-regulating and will always work themselves out. Anyway, what economics books would you suggest reading to get us started? Oh, do you know what? Actually, I just got one. This one arrived in the post. It's called Angrynomics. It's by this guy Mark Blythe, who I like, and Eric Lonergan. It's I've only got like a few pages into the intro, but I really like the way that that Mark Blythe writes. He's a cool guy. So this is shaping up to be a good one. His book Austerity is very good, but I mean he's definitely has an opinion in that book. It's a goodie. Anyway, I digress. So I'm gonna do an economic song that came out from my actual trying to learn and educate myself. And like I say, not doing it particularly successfully because I still have a lot of questions and not many answers. But I think that really is essentially, if I was to say that what are my economics, what is my opinion, I think is that like fundamentalism is the problem. So I guess I should probably do a song about fundamentalism. Or I could do... let's do that. No, let's do the other one. Okay, so I'm gonna do the title track from the album Animal Spirits. Animal Spirits is a it's kind of a what is it? It's a phrase that was supposedly coined by this guy Keynes, who's like a famous economist. And essentially, I think the point he was making was that sometimes people, because we're humans and we are wild animals, we do things for no particular reason, and we do crazy shit. And for me, that was essentially him saying we're unpredictable, and so any mathematical models that you might have will ultimately be flawed by the fact that we will do some crazy shit from time to time, and it will ruin everything. And that's why we have like booms and busts, and we have crashes and bubbles and stuff, because people are fucking weird, and we can't be counted on to remain sensible. And that's not a negative thing. That's what makes us kind of wonderful. Jeez. So I kind of think that for me, I think we shouldn't be so obsessed with trying to predict the future economically. We should just kind of just go with it. Now I know that's not a particularly sound theory for the world we live in, but maybe it's better than what we currently have, because what we currently have is every time the thing blows up, what happens is the people at the bottom end up paying for it, and the people at the top get all the money. And it's essentially a crash is a redistribution of wealth upwards. And people get very upset who are, I suppose, on the righter wing of politics and economics at redistribution of wealth. But that's not to say that there is a natural distribution anyway. Everything's redistribution. Like... The fact that anybody has any money at all, that is redistribution. It doesn't sort of naturally reside in some place. Anyway, I'm digressing again. So Animal Spirits, the first line goes, black shoals far away. Now, black shoals, I liked the image of like these dark fishes in this murky waters. But in actual fact, what it is I was talking about this dude who's called Fisher Black. That's him. He's an economist. He's dead now, but he was a very, very clever guy, maths dude. And this dude, Myron Scholes, Myron Scholes. So they came up with this mathematical formula, the Black-Scholes formula, which looks like this. It's crazy-ass maths. And supposedly what that did was it removed all the risk from gambling on futures in the money markets, in a thing called options. And so what they supposedly did was, by invoking this formula here, they could remove all the risk from it and therefore eradicate the possibility of bubbles and busts and crashes and all that nonsense, which is why, since they came up with that in the 1970s, 80s maybe, we've never had anything go wrong with the economy. Did it again. Of course, that's not true, because in actual fact, it's a brilliant formula up until the point that it's complete fucking bullshit, because it doesn't work, because every now and then something ridiculous and unpredictable will happen and the whole thing will fall down. But because they had the mathematical formula, it made them think it was so safe that they could gamble the entire world on these ridiculously highly leveraged gambles, knowing that they had the maths backing them up so that it would never go wrong. And then it did go wrong, and essentially what happens is we always have to bail them out as taxpayers, and then they essentially go back to business again using the same mathematical formula that let them down before. Anyway, that's a sort of a potted version of the Black-Scholes formula, and so that is the background to the first two words of this song. There's kind of a lot of other shit going on as well. Black shoals, fire and rain, animal spirits that you cannot tame, bold lines in the lust and rage, rational actors on a burning stage, animal just like you, no mathematics to the things I do, but there's a brighter light leading the way down a long road strewn with the wreckage of the brightest and the best, the ones you never should forget. I'm an animal. Smart money leads the way. Tomorrow's always just the same as today. Big talk gets your skin in the game. A heavy future on a shaky frame. Animal is what I am. Measure my spirit if you think you can, and then you get the figures and it all adds up. It's all worked out to a fraction of a decimal, but engineered to overlook the fact I'm an animal. Shark tooth, a vulture's song. Oh, heaven help us if the money's wrong. Mad dog, your blood runs hot. Ever consistent till the day I'm not. Animal, that's what I am. Measure my spirit if you think you can, and then you check the figures and it all adds up, and the whole world's known. Carved the words right there in stone, but all the while a new tomorrow's growing teeth, just like an animal. Thank you. Okay, what else is... any good questions? Did you come up with the concept for the video? Yes, there's a video for that song, which actually was shot in this very room, but before it was turned into a studio, which featured me as I suppose, like the Sweeney Todd of Shoeshine Boys, hacking the shit out of someone's feet while instead of cleaning their shoes. The metaphor being that here I am serving your interests but actually killing you. Not particularly subtle as metaphors go, but I kind of liked it. Plus it meant I got to stab someone in the foot, so that's always good fun. Right. This show has already been going on like way longer than it should have, so I think we're going to wrap it up with a couple of tunes. It would be remiss of me not to play State of the Union, because that was sort of the song that really, I guess, cemented my, I don't want to use the word reputation, but yeah, let's go there. Reputation as like a political songwriter. It was like the song that opened a lot of doors for me, and I suppose the one that always connected most with people at shows. And I think it has that thing I was talking about earlier, where it's angry, but it's sort of it's sort of vague enough that whatever your persuasions, you can take it to your own heart and have it be about whatever you believe in. I think, and to be honest, I don't know if that's a strength or a weakness of the writing of the song. All I know is that I've been playing it pretty much every show that I've done for the last 20 years or so. How long is it? 2015? I don't know. Many years. But I always want to play it, and I always feel that it always feels wrong not to. There always comes a point in the show where it's like, right, we're doing State of the Union now, and it's anyway. Let's just do it. Enough chat already. I'm gonna at the end of the song, we're gonna do a last little. If you've got any questions, throw them in now. Well, maybe not now, because the song's quite long. So maybe in about 3 minutes or something. Then start putting your good questions in, and I'll do a couple more before we finish off. Okay, here we go. Sweet dreams all met with derision. This training was armed for collision. It's a shame, it's a shame, it's a shame. So clap your hands in the sparkle and glitter. Shake your heads at the twisted and bitter. Man, they don't know how lucky they are. A foot down for the alienation. Look on as your love, it gets lost in translation to a language that nobody understands. But there are smiles as they erode and corrupt you. The great expectations you could never live up to. We are lost, we are lost, we are lost. Get your coats, cause the righteous are leaving, cause they can't work out what the hell to believe in. It's a shame, it's a shame, it's a shame. There's no abandon, no heartfelt desire. No love could be worth getting fired. For real, it's surreal, it's so real. To paint over the cracks and then cover what you thought was the worst ever, pain with another. And the first one, it always comes free. And how they love you so cold and so vicious. With friends like these, well, who needs politicians? The first one, it always comes free. And they'll swear to you, heroin tastes like ice cream. Oh. clever men know all that and all this, and they will talk and they will talk and they don't fucking listen. It's a shame, it's a shame, it's a shame. It's no life but God, it's a living. Oh come on Jesus Christ, come back, all is forgiven. We are lost, we are lost, we are lost. Have no fear for the state of the nation. Let the facts have no bearing on public relations. It's a shame, it's a shame, it's a shame. And what a model of Christian behavior. Preach on with that message of go fuck thy neighbor. We are lost, we are lost, we are lost. We are lost, we are lost, we are lost, we are lost. Thank you. You're very kind. All right. So we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. Okay, what have we got? Okay, Panda McPanderson. That's the way to get my attention. Do you write and structure songs with looping in mind, or you just write a song and then figure out how to loop it? Good question. Yeah, I don't ever write. I don't use a loop machine as a writing tool. For me, it just sort of happens that I tend to write very repetitive songs, and as it turns out, that the kind of my angry, sort of slightly political leaning songs tend to be the most repetitive, and I think it comes out from the fact that I suppose the way that I process the information of the subject matter is very sort of repetitive, and it's just like it's like a rant, and rants aren't particularly structured, and so I don't tend to sort of break for a chorus or a bridge or a middle eight or something. It tends just to be verse, 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 verse. I mean, that's the structure of State of the Union. It's just verse, 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 and kind of a lot of my songs in that deal with matters of current affairs tend to be like that, because they tend to just take the form of a rant, and it's just a whole load of words that I'm spewing out, and so it just happens coincidentally that a lot of them you can use the loop machine to make them happen, and it feels like a way of giving them a bit of extra weight, I suppose, and making them carry a bit more not meaning, but I sort of think that, I mean, I don't mean to sort of denigrate people who sort of play acoustic guitar and sing. I mean, like, if I was better at doing that, maybe I'd do it more. But for me, like, it's always been about just making a big old racket and having that be sort of part of the point of what I'm doing. Anyway, right. Any other questions? Is there a way we can send money to support this? I mean, I had this conversation on the Twitter sphere a little while ago. It's so nice that you want to be supportive, but please don't stop trying to give me your money. Like, I don't want that to be our relationship. I think it's very important that we have that there isn't like a direct like funding source from you to me. The idea of like me saying, hey, if you like the show, you can give me your money. That feels weird to me in a way that crosses a line that I'm not comfortable with. I think the relationship that I have with you, dear viewer, dear listener, it has to be one that's pure and true and honest and honourable. Now, I understand that from time to time, some of your money will make its way to me via, I know, like a gig promoter or something, or maybe even if Spotify give me a penny for the million plays that I might have. And I'm cool with that, because there's a structure and there's there's a prophylactic barrier between you and me when it comes to our cash. But the idea of you giving your money to me just makes me feel really horrible, and I don't want that to be the case. So I'm not going to make it easy for you. There are ways you can give me your money. I'm not going to tell you what they are, but but just don't. But I'm not gonna put like a button saying give David Ford your money, because it's just too weird for me. So yeah, I'm not gonna do that. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking for. Oh, what is? Someone wrote, "What is this song called?" That song was called "State of the Union." Frankly, I'm amazed that anyone could be watching my show and doesn't know that song. But it's quite nice that there is. Oh, hey, Nala. Given how it's dominated the last few years and how big and important it is, I've been surprised there've been no songs about Brexit yet. Have you any on the subject? Well, Brexit was such a confusing thing. I didn't feel naturally inclined to write about it, because my feelings on the subject were essentially the same as they are on economics. I believe it was a very complicated issue that was talked about like it was very, very simple. And I think this if anything is the greatest problem we have as a people. We take very complicated problems and we look for very simple answers to them, and the answers are never that simple. And you can never have an answer that's based on sort of an ideology or a very small, narrow thinking. You have to talk to everyone about it. My own feelings on Brexit were I was in the pro-Remain camp, rather unsurprisingly, I'm sure, to many people. But at the same time, the thing that was most interesting was it seemed to, again, the people who were in favor of remaining or leaving didn't necessarily make sense based on their other beliefs. the EU is not a perfect institution. I would have preferred to have remained in it, but which isn't to say that like it's the greatest thing in the entire world. And I think when the Brexit conversation was happening, it was hysterical. It's like the people who were remaining would have like thrown themselves on the railway tracks for the EU, and the people who wanted to leave, you know, were considering it like the most uncomfortable, impossible torture to remain within it. It's like there wasn't a reasonable debate about the pros and cons of membership. There just wasn't. Like, there were fucking things written on the side of buses, and everyone on one side was calling everyone on the other side a racist, and then everyone on one side was calling everyone on the other side, I don't know, someone who had no respect for their country. It was a fucking embarrassment, is what it was. And I don't mean that because we ended up leaving. The whole process was an embarrassment from the beginning. From even announcing we were having the referendum, I was ashamed of the entire process. And if I were to write a song, which I might do one day, that would be the tone of it. It's not like lamenting the fact that we're leaving. There was an argument for leaving. It wasn't made. Nobody made the argument for leaving, but there was an argument for leaving. The whole thing was an absolute national embarrassment. And if it weren't for the fact that the US went and elected Trump a few months later, then I think it would have been the greatest embarrassment that any country has ever ventured on itself. Right. Okay. So I'm going to end the show. I'm going to do one more song, but I need to draw your attention to 2 weeks hence. 2 weeks from now, there's going to be another Milk and Cookies gig. We're going to raise more money, but it's going to have a strange, interesting new format, and the format is everything's for sale. I'm selling everything. So all the songs I'm going to play, I want you to pay me to play. We're going to raise a lot of money for charity, and so there's going to be like some kind of format where there'll be some online place where you can go and like vote for your songs, and if a few of you want to gang up together and put, combine your funds in order to get behind one particular song, I'm just going to play songs I'm paid to play, and I'm going to sell naming rights for the show. I'm going to sell naming rights for this studio, like in perpetuity. This is my studio where I will be making lots of records in the future, I hope. And on my record sleeve, I will say recorded at. It doesn't have a name at the moment, the studio. I will say recorded at. And then if you want to name the studio, you can pay me, for charity, of course, to name this studio, this building that I'm currently standing in. And all subsequent shows will be from the, whatever you want to call it. So I'm selling that. I may well sell the instruments that I play, the clothes that I wear. Everything is for sale. If you've got some money, I'm selling. So the next Milk and Cookies is going to be like that. It's going to be hopefully lots of fun, kind of a riot. So I'm going to leave you with this song. This is a newish song. It's going to be on my next record. I've never played it live before. It's actually available on Bandcamp. I put it up just moments before the show started. So if you want it as a little souvenir for the evening, you can go and get it there for free. Or you can give me your money if that really means a great deal to you. But please remember, it doesn't mean a damn thing to me. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still hanging on there, I realize I've overrun my ambitious 1 hour long time slot. But all right, let me leave you with this. I need a drink though. There's a lot of words in this one. Damn it! I'm just drink from the bottle like some. Oh. Right. So this is, I suppose, my latest and I think one of my better attempts to sum up my feelings on the world as I see it right now. Well, actually, not right now. I wrote this sort of before COVID and the recent Black Lives Matter situation. Maybe I should add a few more verses, but it's already dangerously long. Anyway, Thank you, everyone, so much, and I'll leave you with this one. I'm going to give myself a little clap first. I cannot raise a smile. I cannot raise a fist. I cannot comprehend the cost of all these opportunities I missed while I was waiting for an intervention. While I was waiting for the phone to ring, those creatures jumped the walls and they sunk their teeth into the heart of everything. Or did it happen while I wasn't looking? Did I just step aside and welcome in the wolves in poorly fitted sheep's attire? The lambs adorned in wolfish skin. The words are separated from their meanings. The truth is separated from the fact. And the vermin have consumed the trail of breadcrumbs. And now I'm scared there's no way back. Ain't that just the way you slide? A sleepwalk to the darker side. And love is not the answer, I'm afraid. The moment came and I just stood and let it happen now. I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. I spend my money in the usual places. I buy a lot of shit that I don't need. I recognize the frailty of the age in terms of lust and hate and greed, but I never see it in my own reflection. I don't consider that I'm one of these oblivious and self-interested fools, content to live and die on bended knees, like I'm the servant of some natural order, and never happier than when I'm crushed beneath that looming, loving leather boot of the sweet oppression that I've come to trust, like it's the only thing that keeps me grounded and helps instill in me a sense of pride. All these daunting odds I strive to overcome, but in truth I barely even tried. And that's just the way you find your aspirations get resigned. And love is not the answer, I'm afraid. The moment came and I just turned and looked away, and now I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. Everybody tells it like it is, that every day the same old sun comes up on days like this. Yeah, everybody tells it like it is, that every day the same old sun comes up on days like this. Yeah, everybody tells it like it is, that every day the same old sun comes up on days like this. Everybody tells it like it is, but every day the same old sun comes up on days like this. I cannot raise an army, but I will not raise the flag. I'll call myself a rebel and scream seditious words into a paper bag and make believe that I can make a difference. And maybe this time we can start a fire by preaching eloquent, impassioned testimony only to the choir. It's not important that you stand for something. You just need something you can rail against, the mortal sin of the poorly chosen word, or a joke that might just cause offense. But any God without a sense of humor That's not a deity that I could love. And who would choose eternity in some stern, unsmiling paradise above? But that's just the way it's lied. That scripture will not be denied. And love is not the answer, I'm afraid. The moment came and I just stood and let it happen now. I'm ashamed, I'm ashamed. Can we not raise the standard of our discourse much above a howl of neatly scripted indignation, punctuated by cries of peace and love? It's not enough to hold a firm opinion. The counter-argument must be eviscerated in some frenzied moral outrage. All damnation and no debate. You see, the meek stand to inherit nothing unless they have the will to lawyer up or to fight so dirty as to contradict their claims of meekness. Yes, and there's the rub. I'm well aware that I'm the one who's shouting. Don't think the irony is lost on me. A call for sober, calmly measured reason, screamed out in bold hypocrisy. It's gonna take a whole lot more than these words to tame the dogs of war. And love is not the answer, I'm afraid. My generation blew its chance, so let's get the hell out of the way. Get the hell out of the way. Thank you very much, and good night. The wall has come between us. I cannot stare it down. We fight upon the beaches,